Stan Gibilisco here, proprietor and operator of amateur radio station W1GV Whiskey 1, Good Vibrations. I'm going to tell you another little story from my early ham radio days. Several of you viewers have asked for such stories. There's no comment to be made for them. I mean, they stand as they stand, so I'm going to close comments here. But, I mean, you know if you've done this kind of thing when you were an early, especially if you were a kid and were a ham radio operator, you know if you've done this or not, and the statute of limitations is probably run out. But back in 1970, maybe 71, 72, when I was a junior and senior in high school, I had a good friend just about 4 blocks away who was also a radio ham. And we got on the air at night, oftentimes on single sideband, that's right, SSB, 10 meters at night. We figured that the skip zone didn't exist. The ionosphere had deteriorated sufficiently so that only local line of sight communications would be possible. The DX or faraway stations wouldn't hear us. I don't believe I've almost never heard of a case of F2 layer long distance propagation at night. I guess I neglected in those days to consider the possibility of sporadic E or other freakish phenomena where people might have heard us. But there was a lot of space, a lot of spectrum space up there, and you never heard anybody up there on 10 meters, the 28 megahertz ham radio band. And so we'd get on the air and we'd goof around. We'd joke around with each other at night. And we had a fantasy about one of our club members that this, and I won't name this person, this person is deceased anyway, but I won't name him, but we had developed an entire fantasy world around this person, that in fact he was some kind of extraterrestrial monster, and that he had an entire roster of slaves, and we were among them, and we were subservient to his devilish needs, none of which were ever specified. And we'd talk about what would happen to people when they were terrorized by this monster. And that was just one of our fantasies. We'd talk about all kinds of nonsense. You know what high school kids, what kind of nonsense they can engage in. There was no profanity. As far as I know, our operations were entirely within the law. They were just foolish and stupid and silly. I wonder sometimes, if any of you have ever done this or not, it's your business, not mine. And 1972, how many years ago was that anyway? It was almost a half a century, almost 50 years ago. If anybody wants to come after us, they'd have to get evidence first, and they'd never find it. And if they found it, they wouldn't have anything to prove, because all we did was be stupid kids. And as far as I know, being a stupid kid was legal in Rochester, Minnesota in 1972, as long as you didn't harm anyone else. And we weren't doing any harm, except maybe to some cosmic consciousness that couldn't stand silly little kids. But his radio was a Heathkit line. Remember those, I don't know the names of the radios. I think they were like SB 101 or something like that. They looked like Collins radios, and their tuning mechanisms looked like Collins S-line tuning mechanisms. They were nowhere near up to the caliber of the Collins S-line, nor up to the cost. They were kits, and my friend's dad built those kits, including a linear amplifier, all from Heathkit instructions. and they were beautiful radios. They were green. They had this green exterior. I remember one evening we were over at his house, and sometimes we did some serious DXing there from his house on CW and on SSB. And that would have been 1969. Because I remember watching the first moon landing, Apollo 11, and watching Neil Armstrong get off of that Lunar Excursion Module, or LEM, L-E-M, Lima Echo Mike, get off that thing and hop around on the moon, and you could hear the delay in propagation because of the fact that the moon is about 1.2 or 1.3 light seconds from Earth. So it'd be about 3 seconds when NASA asked him a question and the response came back. I remember all that, watching all that on a television set, old-fashioned television set at my friend's house, in between DXing and foolishness contacts. Well, of course, we couldn't contact each other on the air from the same station. Well, we might have tried. We might have had a QRSO with that very same station, you know. W1GV, this is W1GV. Yeah, I hear you loud and clear. You're 5x9. Funny, we're in the same town. Coincidence, we should hear each other at night on 10 meter, blah, 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 blah. That kind of foolishness. Oh well. Memories come to an old man, especially when he has an ulcer in his foot. I'm going to a surgeon tomorrow so he can have a look at it. They're probably going to have to do reconstructive surgery on that thing. You look at that hole when they take the dressing off, and you look at that wound. It's a hideous looking thing. It's amazing it doesn't hurt all the time and that I can walk at all. It's a ghastly looking ulcer, and something's going to have to be done. So if I disappear for a period of time, it's probably because I'm going to be either in the hospital or so predisposed with these matters that I just don't have time for things like yammering into low-resolution cameras on YouTube for no reason at all. 50 years later, the same adult silliness as the kid had. And as far as I know, it's still legal, isn't it? YouTube videos, foolish as they may get, as long as they don't offend anyone to the point of being illegal. As far as I don't know. What the heck? Who cares about the law anymore anyway? Nobody obeys it anyhow. A lawless world. Low-resolution videos. Stupidity on the internet. When will it end? Stan Gibilisco, W1GV, saying 73 and so long, which, in my native fist, at least today, would translate into da-da-da-da-da-da.